Welcome to the Nutrition Collaborative podcast, where we cut through the noise, bust the myths, and bring you nothing but truth about health, fitness, and everything in between. I'm Alec Moore, dietitian, and each week we'll dive into what really works when it comes to achieving lasting health and fitness. No gimmicks, no BS, just real talk, real success stories, and a holistic approach to living your healthiest life. Whether you're here for practical tips, inspiration from real client journeys, or just to find out what's actually worth your time, this is the podcast for you. Let's break it down, get empowered, and focus on what truly matters for your health. And welcome back to another episode of the NC Podcast. Today is going to be a very boring episode. Why? Because it's all about gut health, which I know is a fascinating topic to pretty much all of you. But the reason I say it's going to be boring is because it's not going to be all these fancy supplements that you have been marketed that you need. So it's not going to contain any of those fancy supplements and I say fancy with air quotes. There is a lot that we can do before jumping to supplements when it comes to gut health. Truly move the needle before you even need supplements. Today, we're going to be talking about habits in gut health, eating hygiene, how to eat. We're going to be talking about what nutrition should look like on a day-to-day basis before the need of supplements. We're going to talk about how stress and sleep affect your gut health. We're going to talk about the 80% that you can do before ever even needing to touch a supplement. And it works in so many people. So when we look at gut health, it's very complex. It is very complex. But the first thing we need to do is not jump toward a supplement that's marketed toward your specific condition or your specific impairment or symptoms, your list of symptoms. The first thing we have to do is kind of unravel the complexity of the gut health and that your specific gut health scenario. So the first thing we do is address those symptoms. We backtrack what led to this. We don't need a supplement to band-aid it or to mask it. We need to uncover why it happened in the first place, and just jumping towards supplements that are marketed toward such is not going to do it. So we're going to start there. So backtrack before you need supplements, before you need to look at probiotics and prebiotics and digestive enzymes and gut health protocols and all these things you'll see all over the internet. What do we do first? Well, we eat the food first. That's the first thing. You can't have gut issues without food consumption of some sort. Something's got to happen in the digestive system to cause these issues to occur, unless it's an immune system issue, which is a topic for a different day. But let's unravel all of the complexities and go back to the beginning. So eating, that's the first thing that happens. How we go about eating, it's the first thing that affects our gut health. Are we eating when we're stressed? Are we eating and trying to multitask and you're in a meeting and then putting yourself on mute, scarfing down a sandwich, unmuting yourself, talking, repeat? Is that how you're chronically going about your eating patterns and your meal times? Not thoroughly chewing. That's as simple as that sounds. We have to thoroughly chew all of our food. Every single bite of every meal needs to be thoroughly chewed into a paste so that your body can do the correct digestive processes without interruption or disruption. If you're just swallowing chunks of food, we're all going to have gut issues with that. So you have to chew your food thoroughly. You have to sit when you eat, not be running around doing a million different things. You shouldn't be in a very stressed state. Think rest and digest. Think parasympathetic nervous system to actually consume that food and be in a state where your body can be like, okay, yes, we're actually going to sit here and take this in. We're not going to just throw a fit that he's eating or she's eating or they're eating. We need to actually be in a restful state to do so and to take that food in. So remaining present with the meals is essentially what we're getting at. Present with the meals, not present with other things, and just so happen to be eating as well. So that's huge. And so with that chewing, what else do you need to be focused on during your eating? The faster you eat, the larger chunks of undigestible food, or not necessarily undigestible, but it's going to take a lot longer. It's going to make the gut work harder and potentially cause some symptoms of discomfort and delayed gastric motility, et cetera, et cetera. So fast eating is definitely going to lead to, some bloating, some gas, some potential, acid reflux because of those undigested, or because all of that undigested food content. If it's not digestible or easily digested, then it's going to cause some backup of juices and fluids and food content at the end of the day within the stomach and digestive system. And so if that's happening, then you're just going to cause some inflammation. You're going to cause disruption to the gut lining and further stress on the body. And then it can just turn into a domino effect of symptoms from there. So it starts with how you eat, the state of your nervous system when you eat, the rate of what you chew and eat slowly and thoroughly, right? Taking some deep breaths in between bites, not rushing through your food, right? Again, slowing down. And then I strongly recommend just limiting your distractions around you, screens and phone calls and talking and things like that. Putting your fork down, taking some breaths in between bites, make eating an experience and live in the moment for it. Instead of just scarfing things down. That's first and foremost. If you're skipping over that, but you're reaching for the colostrum or you're reaching for prebiotics, like you're only going to exacerbate your symptoms if you don't address the root of all of this. If you unravel the complexities and go back to the beginning, how am I eating the food? That could be the reason you have gut issues. So beyond just the food consumption. So if you do all of those things and that, just mentioned, you're very slow with your food intake. You try to be in a restful state when eating, and you've done all of those eating hygiene specific things that we just talked about. The next thing on the list is going to be stress. Sleep can tie into that too, for sure, because of lacking sleep increases cortisol, which can then, decrease gut permeability, and then you have some, quote unquote, maybe leaky gut or, disruptions to the gut microbiome, and then you have a cascade of symptoms from stress and sleep. So they're very much interconnected, stress and sleep, and they definitely play off of one another. And so I don't know if you've ever been in a stressful situation or a presentation at work or school. Let's go. I mean, I feel like as adults, we manage it a little bit differently. So let's go back to the days of when we were in school and we had a big presentation and all your friends, were trying to pick at you or, make you laugh during a presentation or whatever, or you were new to the school, right? Go back to that time in that instance. Did you probably pee a lot? Did you probably need to go to the bathroom? Did you get crampy and in a digestive funk that day? Or, you feel like your gut is in knots, right? When nerves are high. That is literally because of the gut brain, the vagus nerve. It is it's basically a highway communicating your gut to your brain. And if you're always stressed, or if you're in a stress state, it's going to send signals down to the gut and cause disruptions. They are literally one interconnected pathway on the vagus nerve. And all of these neurotransmitters are sending a bunch of different signals, and it's going to change the rate at which you digest food. Gut motility. Increased stress is going to throw all of that off. And if you have chronically high stress and chronically low sleep, how do you think your gut is going to operate normally and function smoothly without any, constipation or gas and bloating and symptoms at the end of the day? And so stress can actually impact both ways. It can speed gut motility up and make you go to the bathroom a little, like runny and a little bit more frequently than you'd like, or it can actually do the contrary and delay and cause constipation. And then you feel extra bloated and crampy and icky at the end of the day. Now, to get even deeper with things, chronic stress can also impact the gut microbial diversity. So you can actually end up enabling your gut to grow the quote unquote bad bacteria and throw your gut out of whack when it comes to microbial balance, which is very important. Microbial balance, microbial diversity is extremely important when it comes to excellent long-term gut health, symptom-free gut health. So I think just as important as the eating hygiene aspect of things, also the stress management hygiene habit of things. on a daily basis. So you should have some sort of daily journaling or daily regulation of emotions and stress so that you can regulate all of these things and not let them impact your gut health. It's also important to note trying to limit like excessive stimulation around meal times. So if you are super like overstimulated, say you just got out of a really brutal leg day at the gym. You immediately drove home, you're like kind of still out of it. And you also got some crazy news. Somebody, a family member called you on the way home and you got some weird news. I'm not going to go sad with that news. You got some weird news, from the family and you're just kind of thrown off from that. And then you got like 3 texts from 3 different people asking you important questions that are, you need to answer right away. And then you get home and you're trying to scarf down food so you can answer those questions and et cetera, et cetera. And then you have these crazy cramps and digestive issues, or you're not digesting the food well. And hours later, you're just like keeled over, like what is going on? That is from that overstimulation, that sympathetically driven nervous system state that's not allowing you to be in that parasympathetic activity state with the nervous system, which is your rest and digest. And so if you're in that sympathetically driven state, because you're so overstimulated from all these different things and physiologically from that crazy leg day you had, you're probably not going to be in a good place to digest the food. So what do I recommend? Instead of getting on XYZ supplement, you should probably take an hour or 2 after leg day to decompress from the day or from the workout, and to get you back into a parasympathetic state before your body's like, okay, we can actually sit and digest a meal real quick, or at all. So that is wildly important. Is delaying after workouts a little bit of time before eating again. Not eating right after you just got crazy news from somebody. Not eating when you know that your body is overstimulated. That's the thing. It's not all these different scenarios, because maybe you don't get overstimulated by certain scenarios. So if you catch yourself overstimulated and you're about to have a meal, maybe give yourself a 5-10 minute walk in the sunlight. Maybe do some box breathing. Maybe put the phone away and don't be doom scrolling. Just continuously overstimulating. You're going to develop gut issues, if not right away, with some more acute symptoms. They will become more chronic. And when they become more chronic, they're more complex, they're harder to unravel that complexity, and they're more significant and severe because they've gone on so long. So you don't want that to happen. So just recognizing when you're in that fight or flight state or that overstimulated state, and knowing I probably shouldn't have like a super high fat and high protein meal right now. It's not going to sit well, Give yourself some time to come back down from that overstimulated state, get into a rest and digest state to actually be able to digest the food. And this isn't just like a healthy food versus unhealthy food debate when it comes to, meal timing and being overstimulated and such. You can have the healthiest food on the planet and it can still give you crazy gut issues if that stress is too high or if you're stuck in that fight or flight sympathetically driven state. Now let's go into what you actually need to eat for a healthy gut. The nutritional prerequisites for gut health that aren't supplements. Well, first things first, when we talk about gut health is fiber intake. Outside of the eating hygiene that we've already talked about and the habits right there, right? Then that's when we go to fiber intake. With fiber intake comes microbial or nutrient diversity. So microbial diversity, what does that mean? We need nutrients from all these different food sources. So if you see somebody that it only does it like carnivore, or only does plant-based foods, or only does like this one quote unquote diet, they're going to probably be the ones that develop the most amount of gut conditions and issues, aside from the immune system or the autoimmune stuff that's just going to naturally happen to some folks. You're going to do it to yourself because you don't have enough microbial diversity. You're going to literally feed certain bacteria too much and feed other bacteria not enough. And when that happens, it's called gut dysbiosis, and your microbial balance is going to be out of whack. And that is when you have an array of symptoms with your gut health, is eating the same things every single day. So if you're hearing this and you're like, man, I really have the same breakfast every day, I do like the same lunch every day, that's great. You're in a good routine. You're probably hitting your macros consistently and closely, but you're missing the mark on microbial diversity. So you don't need to eat, 7 different meal plans a week. I'm not saying that you have to go spend $1,000 at the grocery store every single week, but you do need variety in your diet for a happy gut and healthy. For a happy and healthy gut. If I could speak today, that'd be fantastic. So it's not about perfection and eating the same thing every single day. Honestly, I'd say variety is more important than that perfection in long-term gut health. So rotate your menu. You don't have to, like I said, you don't have to have a million different foods every single day. But as long as you have like a weekly menu where one week you have a certain, select food items, but then you try to limit the same ones in the next week, and then limit the same ones in the next week, and so on. That's where you're going to get great microbial diversity. So different colors of foods, different fibers, different carb sources, not just eating only sweet potatoes, but maybe some beans in there too. Different types of beans, maybe different like lentils and chickpeas, and like I said, different colors, different sources. But it doesn't have to be every single day, just on a consistent, think of it as patterns. Remember, this was a boring episode. You're just going to hear how to eat properly. You're not going to hear the magical, this many grams of colostrum mixed with this many grams of aloe vera juice. Aloe vera juice can be helpful, yes, but we're not going to run that tangent. And we're missing the mark on so many prerequisites before we get into that nitty gritty stuff. So fiber. Let's talk about fiber. We need soluble, you need insoluble. You need roughly 20 to 45 grams a day, depending on who you are. A good average, I'd say, is probably like 25 to 35 grams per day, depending on who you are. And I would say most Americans are not getting enough. Most Americans are missing the mark on consistent daily fiber intake. And then they wonder why their bowel movements are inconsistent, or they're gassy, or they feel like crap after eating certain restaurant foods, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Again, it comes down to proper and consistent, frequent, adequate fiber intake and microbial diversity, not just one or the other. Now, just a little bit of a note on fiber, a note to prevent bloat. Don't increase your fiber right away by too much. Slow and gradual increases. Like if you're consuming 12 grams a day and you realize that and you're like, oh, well, he said 35. Please do not go straight to 35 grams. You're only going to bloat yourself up more, constipate yourself up more, and create more bulk in the stool, or bulk of stool in the GI tract. And then it's not getting sufficient amounts of fluid, and your system, GI systems are just not prepared enough for that yet. So you cannot increase super fast, or you're going to feel like garbage and be, feeling like stuffed and feeling a lot of pressure in the gut and not be able to go to the bathroom. So you definitely don't want to do too much too quick. So just ease into it gradually. I did want to talk about some gut disruptors. And one of them is just high fat intake. Ultra processed foods is a key one for sure, but also high fat intake, specifically saturated fat intake. So that can just cause a little bit of inflammation in the gut. And then we know that, inflammation is not the greatest thing, and that can cause, a downstream effects on GI tract and symptoms and things. But, that's something you don't want to do too much of, or overindulge in, because of the heart health complications and implications, but also the implications on gut health. And I think it's an undervalued topic when it comes to gut health, is saturated fat intake. Very high fat intake, specifically from animal products, can be hard on the gut. And slow your digestion down and cause more inflammation and gut permeability. And when that happens, it's just a downstream effect on other systems, and therefore eventually symptoms. Artificial sweeteners are 50-50 for me. Really, I don't have a problem with them with gut health and in these like prerequisite things, or checklists and things. But if you don't tolerate them well, then avoid them. Yes. But if you know that if you tolerate them well and you can handle them with no symptoms or complications in your GI tract and overall gut health, sure, go ahead. They should not have issues long term if in normal amounts, and if they don't give you issues in the acute. Some people just straight up cannot tolerate even a lick of them, and they'll have to be in the bathroom, or they'll be bloated up or in pain. So the gut's hidden regulator, sleep. We talked a little bit about it earlier, and in conjunction with stress, because they impact one another so closely, but if your sleep is off, I mean, sleep is going to be a huge regulator of gut health. So if your sleep is off, your circadian rhythm is off, your day-to-day, sleep-wake cycle is off, digestion is not going to be on point. I mean, there's no way you can have a very healthy, well-balanced gut health with terrible stress management and terrible sleep, guaranteed. So if you have poor digestion, if you have a bunch of cravings, if you have bloating and things like that, take a look at your sleep and sleep patterns and sleep schedule. Do you go to sleep at the same time every night, or roughly the same time? Do you wake up every day roughly at the same time? Is it interrupted sleep? Is it uninterrupted sleep? Are you drinking a lot of caffeine before you go to bed, or too close in proximity to your bedtime? Are you eating a big huge bowl of heavy, dense, fat-rich food right before bed? All of these things are to be considered when we talk about. So far, we've talked about sleep. We've talked about stress. We've talked about gut disruptors from food. We've talked about microbial diversity and fiber intake, how you eat, eating hygiene. We've talked about almost everything that I wanted to cover so far. Here's also, another thing is that you're going to find all over the internet for gut health. You're going to find protocols. You're going to find tests. You're going to find food sensitivity tests. You're going to find you're going to find supplements out the wazoo. You're going to find so many different opinions and marketing tactics and things like that. You're going to find so much out there for the gut health that are speaking directly to you. For your specific, you're going to be fooled, and it's going to be like, oh, I need this product, or I need this protocol, or I need this thing because I have this symptom, this symptom, this symptom, this symptom. Well, those symptoms can be cured by these prerequisites, these gut health prerequisites that are, habits and behavior and stress management, sleep modification, you name it, food intake, microbial diversity, fiber. Again, unravel that complexity of the gut health and the situation you have. You don't need to go jump into a $500 test immediately, to a $300 blood panel immediately, to all these supplements that cost $100 each. You don't need to spend $1,200 a month in supplementation to just end up still having the gut issues because you didn't address the root cause that caused the gut issues in the first place. Unravel those complexities and start from the beginning. How you eat, what you eat, when you eat, the state that you're in when you eat, habits, etc. Go back to the beginning and find that root cause. Stop searching for a magical supplement, because just like with anything else, no pill that you take is going to help your gut health if all of those other things are not in line first, if those prerequisites are not checked off first. And a little tidbit on supplements and probiotics, right? So supplements are not going to override all, sleep habits, behavioral things, how you eat. They're not going to override all that stuff. They're just not. But also probiotics can actually exacerbate your issues. Prebiotics can exacerbate your issues. Betaine hydrochloride, a stomach acid increaser, it could exacerbate issues. So don't go taking all these protocols and products and such without doing your due diligence on these prerequisites. Also, many probiotics are strain specific. So your aunt or your uncle may have taken this certain strain that helped them, so they give it to you and it makes yours worse because they needed it for a specific strain, or they needed a specific strain for a specific benefit or development from that product over time. And they say, oh, this helped me, it's going to help you. Well, what if it makes yours worse because you didn't need that? You were already sufficient enough in that. So gut health is extremely complex. It's also extremely individualized. So as always, supplements should support a solid foundation, and doing all of these boring basics usually cover 80% of the magic or more. Ask yourself, are you paying attention to all of these basics? So ask yourself, are you paying attention to all of these prerequisite boring basics 100% of the time before you order that cart off Amazon or off XYZ influencer's page? So to recap, you don't need to buy your way to a healthier gut. It's found most of the time in your habits, your behavior, your stress management, your sleep habits, how you eat, what you eat, when you eat, the state that you're in when you eat, not in these stinking supplements. Here's something that I kind of want to encourage y'all to do this week. As soon as you hear this, start slow, start with something new. from the very beginning. And let me know if you start to get some relief in bloating and gas, constipation, acid reflux. Go to the beginning, re-listen to this, look at your stress, look at your sleep, look at your eating hygiene, look at where you are when you eat your meals, how you are when you eat your meals, what level of stress you have when you eat your meals, and adjust accordingly week by week. And I guarantee that you're going to get some improvements in your symptoms. You're going to get, reduced severity, reduced frequency, and you're probably not going to have to order the supplements, at least not yet, and at least not the $1,500 worth of them. Maybe you only need about $80 worth of them, and then you only need them for like 8 weeks, and you're good to go. But you wouldn't know that until you tried the boring basics first. That's all for today, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're talking about gut health today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We're going to talk more in depth about certain conditions and other items on the checklist when it comes to gut health. But this was a great kickoff here with the prerequisites before any supplementation. Thanks so much, and I hope you guys have a great week.